Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Center for Learning Technologies and the Office of Distance Learning, I would like to welcome you to the 13th Annual Summer Institute. So this event this year basically was guided by three questions. Three questions that helped us throughout our planning effort to make this event successful in terms of the event itself that is dedicated to provide a platform to discuss, share, exchange ideas, as Alison mentioned earlier, but also to identify effective teaching and learning strategies. What works inside and outside the classroom? The three questions are mainly, what are we doing as an institution to facilitate and perhaps ensure student success? And the second one is in terms of how can we foster or increase participatory learning inside and outside the classroom. And the third one is how can we use various mind tools and toys to engage our student and to stimulate their intellectual curiosity. And here, perhaps you recognize that I'm avoiding or I'm trying to avoid to use the word technology. Keeping into perspective that student success basically requires the active involvement of the students themselves, the faculty, and the administrators. In other words, student success is the business of every one of us. After all, basically, if we are not working toward student success, then perhaps we are not focusing on our mission as an institution. From that perspective, we basically followed what we could call a holistic or systemic approach by involving all these three key stakeholders. For the student, we wanted to hear from them what worked, basically what are the strategies that their faculty use that help engage them in the process, what services are available that they can benefit them also be successful in terms of advising and counseling. From the administrator's perspective, we want to know as an institution what services are available, what are we doing in terms of, because we have a lot of initiatives going on, and very often those initiatives are not perhaps known at the campus level, particularly by faculty. And in terms of the faculty, we wanted really to engage them in a way, in a reflective opportunity, basically to share ideas, to exchange, and to see what works inside and outside the classroom. From that perspective, we want also to ensure that how can we engage faculty and administrators to care about the student, because after all, student success, or the key to student success, is related to caring about our student, as we will hear actually tomorrow in one of the testimonies from the student. So keeping these ideas in mind, we have basically, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the topic of facilitating student success, we recognize that to create or to cultivate a campus climate capable of providing a smooth transition for students, whether they are transitioning from high school or from community college, but also to provide some opportunities in terms of enhancing their academic preparedness and readiness, because very often that's one of the complaints we hear about students is their level of preparedness. And obviously that's a systemic problem that goes beyond the institution itself, but that needs to be addressed. Particularly, there are some critical critical moments and times in the life of a student. If there is no intervention at that time, then perhaps the consequences could lead for the student to either dropping out from the entire system. And also in terms of how can we foster a classroom environment that takes into consideration basically the complexity of the student in terms of their cognitive, social, individual needs. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, also in terms of providing a foundation for engagement, growth, and success. So with all these ideas in mind, we wanted to provide you with the Summer Institute a rich schedule that basically is full with opportunities for interaction, learning, and exchanging ideas, driven mainly by faculty. Most of the presenters actually, or faculty or administrators. We wanted to, what we call actually the faculty of the Institute, thanks to June, will share in terms of what they are doing inside and outside the classroom. Tomorrow we have a session that we call the student voice. The student voice, we basically identified a group of students that provided us with testimonies in terms of their experience, what kind of services they benefited from, what made actually the difference in terms of their, as an ODU student, but also they talked about what engaged them, what, for example, teaching and learning strategies faculty use that engage them, that stimulates them, that keeps them interested. So stay tuned. The testimonies actually are a very powerful statement for all of us in terms of understanding, hearing from the student, and particularly because we don't have often the opportunity to do that as an institution in terms of have some kind of forum where we are hearing from the student in terms of what works and what doesn't work. Finally, also we have one session that is actually called PICS. Basically, it's an idea where you are invited to share your problems, issues, concerns, and solutions. In other words, in general, I mean, facing specific problem in terms of the classroom, most of the time you are not alone as a faculty member. So from that perspective, having this opportunity to share with others and seek collectively solutions that will enable us to face the challenge of engaging students. So with this rich schedule, I hope that you will have an enjoyable learning moment. Basically, that would help us collectively trigger a reflection of what we can do inside and outside the classroom to ensure the success of our future generation, our current students. So with those thoughts in mind, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Andy Casiello, Associate Vice President for Distance Learning, to say a few words. Andy has been very supportive all along during this process, and he's going to share some thoughts with you about this. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to see you all here bright and early this morning to talk about this important subject. So we're 13 now.
Yep.
We're teenagers, I guess, as we enter this the program this year, and it's I think it's a wonderful package of meetings and events and presentations that you have in store for you over the next couple of days. And it's critical to the university, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But some of the statistics that CLT presented on the CLT website about this event, the first year student attrition is at 20%. So fall to fall, the students, 80% of the students return, and 20% of those students do not return. And that's an important group of students for the institution, and retention, improving our retention numbers is critical. Of the 20% who leave ODU, 2/3 leave due to some sort of academic difficulty. And of the 80% of students that stay, 50% graduate within 6 years. So those numbers are not terribly unusual for an institution like this, but there are certainly numbers that the university is interested in improving, and we're, as an institution, doing a lot about that. We have a new Student Success Center that is being built and will be ready sometime this fall, Sandy? Yes. And summer. And the Learning Commons is being built, and we have a new Vice Provost for Faculty Development coming. And also there's some significant changes for CLT coming this year. CLT is a very important part of the institution, it's a very important part of distance learning, but it doesn't focus on distance learning courses and delivery modes only. It focuses on improvements in teaching and learning. And in the strategic plan that we're working with now, the university asked us to increase the efforts that CLT was putting forward in teaching and learning in all modalities and in all technologies, including the classroom, which is a technology. And so we're undergoing some growth this year, hopefully, and doing a name change to the Center for Learning and Teaching that will hopefully help to promote, along with a number of other events and activities through the summer, and an increased focus on just the subjects of teaching and learning. We also use the term pedagogy I guess, sparingly, but we'll be focusing on that in all modalities. So it's really important for us to be talking about student success at this point. And I think that the program that you all have put together looks fantastic. There's a lot to go through, I think, in 2 days. In the 3 categories of campus climate, academic preparedness, and classroom dynamics and experience, those areas of focus, I know we'll be talking about engaging students with content material both inside and outside the classroom. Kyle's going to talk about integrating social media. I think that's going to be great. Leveraging groups for student success, empowering students. Teaching extends beyond the classroom, academic skill building, learning styles both inside and outside the classroom. These are great areas of focus and a wonderful program, and too much for me to go through and mention them all. I just want to say in closing that I thank the folks from the Center for Learning Technology, soon to be the Center for Learning and Teaching, for all that they have done to bring you all together. The critical piece is that you all are here and that so many of you are part of the presentations this year and help to pull these events together. And that's really what it's all about for us, is getting the faculty together and facilitating the interaction and best practice exchange between and among the faculty. And that's really what strengthens this institution, and I'm very pleased to see that that's happening and that we play a small role in making that happen. I do understand there are door prizes. Allison mentioned that, so that's going to be interesting and exciting. And also, I'm going to put one final plug in for the Provost Conversations on Teaching and Learning. That was a nice program last year. We are extending that this year. It's going to move to Thursdays, I think, so, to try to limit the conflict that some of you faced, and we're going to try to grow that program. I also think we're going to do some where we're on site. Yes. In the labs of some of the faculties, and I find those particularly interesting. And they're also going to be held in the Learning Commons as soon as we can get in there. So it's a great program. Thanks to all of you for sharing your time with us and sharing your experience with us, and I look forward to spending as much time as possible with you all over the next couple of days. Have a great event. Thanks very much.